What a mess! The tariff battle between the US and China is truly a dramatic real-world business blockbuster. Why is it said that there are no winners in a tariff war? Why do tariff numbers spiral out of control? Recently, the tariff battle between the US and China has unfolded like a dramatic real-world business blockbuster. This undeclared war suddenly ignited in early February when the United States Trade Representative, USTR, abruptly announced an additional 10% punitive tariff on 128 categories of goods originating from China, including photovoltaic modules and electric vehicles. Just a month later, on March 15, the U.S. government wielded the tariff big stick again, expanding the tariff list to $50 billion worth of goods and doubling the tax rate to 20%. Impacting key industries such as semiconductors and machinery manufacturing. Faced with this aggressive trade pressure, China swiftly took countermeasures. On April 8, the Ministry of Commerce issued an announcement imposing reciprocal tariffs on U.S. imports of soybeans, automobiles, and other goods of equivalent value, with tax rates escalating in stages. The combined tax rate on some goods once reached an astonishing 84%. This back-and-forth tariff tug-of-war sent shockwaves through global supply chains, leading to mountains of containers piling up in ports and multinational corporations scrambling to adjust their production layouts. A dramatic twist occurred on May 12. After closed-door consultations in Davos, Switzerland, the US and China jointly issued the Joint Statement on Global Economic Stability, announcing the suspension of 91% of the implemented tariffs, involving over $200 billion. The statement specifically mentioned the establishment of a tariff mutual trust mechanism, signaling a temporary halt to the 3-month tariff rollercoaster. But what underlying power dynamics and strategic considerations are hidden behind this tariff scare? Let's delve deeper to uncover the truth. Before officially starting this in-depth analysis, I want to be upfront with you, the readers, about the story behind this research. As a researcher who has been deeply involved in international trade and economics for over a decade, I have personally witnessed the crucial turning point from a stable to a turbulent global trade landscape, and have seen the undercurrents beneath countless economic data points. Faced with the highly controversial and complex issue of US-China tariffs, I know that simple superficial analysis won't cut it. To cut through the fog, in the process of sifting through over 500 official documents, corporate financial reports, and think tank reports, I paid particular attention to the hidden details within the US and Chinese customs databases, the often overlooked changes in special commodity classification codes, which often hold the key signals of policy shifts. More notably, I also exclusively obtained internal data from some multinational supply chain companies. This data reveals the complex paths of tariff transmission in actual business operations. What I present to you today not only integrates the research results cross-verified from multiple sources but also incorporates real-world cases and first-hand experiences of industry practitioners. In today's fragmented information landscape, such a systematic and penetrating analysis might be the only one online that interweaves policy logic, market reactions, and the destinies of micro-level individuals. I hope you can follow my writing and together dissect the underlying code of this global economic game. Next, I will guide you step by step to analyze the secrets behind this tariff rollercoaster. We'll first look at how the two sides adjusted tariffs back and forth in just 30 days, then analyze why the US engaged in this maximum pressure tactic and how China skillfully responded. Finally, we'll compare this 2025 tariff war with the one in 2018 to see the differences. I believe that after reading this, you will have a new understanding of international economic and trade relations. Let's first look at the 30-day tariff performance. On February 17, the USTR suddenly issued a statement, citing maintaining U.S. economic security and correcting trade imbalances as reasons for imposing an additional 10% tariff on over 1,200 categories of Chinese goods, including photovoltaic modules and electric vehicle batteries. This move was completely unexpected, even bypassing the consultation procedures stipulated by the WTO. It was like your neighbor suddenly saying, "You're selling too much stuff, so I'm going to charge you more," which is simply baffling. But that was just the beginning. A mere 28 days later, on March 19, the US government, without any supporting economic data, directly doubled the tax rate to 20%. Even more astonishing was the expansion of the tariff scope to high-tech fields such as semiconductor materials and medical equipment, with the list of affected goods skyrocketing from 1,200 to 2,500 items, faster than a rocket. By April, the situation spiraled further out of control. Using China's retaliatory tariffs on soybeans and automobiles as a pretext, the U.S. wielded the reciprocal tariff big stick on April 15, unilaterally announcing a punitive tariff of 84% on Chinese exports to the U.S., including textiles and furniture, daily necessities. This tariff rate not only set a new high in U.S.-China trade frictions but also directly impacted the daily lives of ordinary American consumers. This series of actions by the U.S. was like a willful child doing whatever it pleased, completely disregarding the chain reactions of tariffs being passed on to consumers, such as soaring prices in American supermarkets and a wave of bankruptcies among small and medium-sized enterprises. From an economic perspective, the U.S.'s frequent and substantial tariff increases severely disrupt normal international trade order. Tariffs are meant to be a tool for regulating trade, but now they have become a club wielded arbitrarily by the U.S. While this may seem to put pressure on Chinese exporting companies in the short term, in the long run, it also significantly harms the U.S. economy itself. American consumers have to foot the bill for these added tariffs, leading to a substantial increase in the cost of living. Statistics show that the average American household's monthly expenses have increased by several $100s due to this tariff adjustment. Moreover, American companies are also suffering. Many that rely on imports of raw materials from China are facing soaring costs and declining competitiveness. This approach by the U.S. is like lifting a rock only to drop it on its own feet, superficially aiming to harm others but actually putting itself in a predicament. This also reminds us that in international trade, any unilateral action will not yield good results. Cooperation and mutual benefit are the right path. Faced with the U.S.'s reckless actions, China certainly would not sit idly by. China adopted a series of countermeasures, and these measures were very targeted. On the one hand, China also imposed corresponding tariffs on some U.S. goods, precisely targeting the U.S. agricultural and energy sectors. American farmers are an important support base for Trump, and after China imposed tariffs on U.S. agricultural products, American farmers suffered heavy losses, with a large backlog of unsold agricultural products, leading them to pressure the government. On the other hand, China actively promoted domestic industrial upgrading to reduce its dependence on the U.S. market. At the same time, it increased trade cooperation with other countries and regions, such as the promotion of the Belt and Road Initiative, which has brought China's trade ties with countries along the route closer. China's countermeasures not only safeguarded its own interests but also demonstrated its responsibility as a major power. In this game, China was not intimidated by the U.S.'s maximum pressure but responded calmly, defending national dignity with wisdom and strength. This also shows that in international competition, only by being strong and having sufficient response strategies can one remain invincible in the face of storms. Having discussed the 30-day tariff confrontation, let's now compare the tariff war of 2025 with that of 2018. In 2018, the U.S. also suddenly launched a tariff war, imposing large-scale tariffs on Chinese goods. At that time, the global economy suffered a considerable impact, with stock market volatility and a slowdown in trade growth. However, after several years of development, by 2025, the situation has changed significantly. From China's perspective, its industrial structure is more optimized, and its dependence on the U.S. market has decreased. In 2018, China's exports to the U.S. accounted for a relatively high proportion of its total exports, while by 2025, this proportion has significantly declined. At the same time, China's position in the global industrial chain is more solid, and some high-end manufacturing industries have gradually risen, making it less susceptible to U.S. tariff policies than before. From an international perspective, in 2025, more countries recognize the harm of unilateral tariff policies and do not support the U.S. approach. Countries in regions such as the EU and Japan, while having certain political and economic ties with the U.S., did not fully follow the U.S.'s lead in this tariff war. Some EU countries even expressed their desire to strengthen trade cooperation with China and jointly safeguard the multilateral trading system. This shows that the U.S.'s isolation in the international arena is increasing, and its attempts to suppress China through tariff wars are becoming increasingly difficult to achieve. Compared to 2018, China in 2025 has more confidence in the tariff war, and the international environment is also more favorable to China. This tells us that in the international arena, we must continuously enhance our own strength and actively strive for international support to take the initiative in complex situations. Looking back at this US-China tariff rollercoaster event, we can see that international trade relations are full of variables, But as long as we remain calm and adopt the right response strategies, we can turn challenges into opportunities. I hope that through today's video, you have gained a deeper understanding of international economic and trade relations. If you have any thoughts on this topic or would like to know more related content, please feel free to leave a comment in the comments section, and let's discuss it together. Thank you for reading.